He loved her so much that he succumbed when he lost her. What would you do if you lost the love of your life? If your love was impossible? I know of someone who preferred to sleep eternally rather than live without his beloved, but not before dedicating a testament of his love to her in the form of a poem. At the time when opium and melancholy took hold of young, unwary romantics, tired of life, the protagonist of this love tragedy was born. Medardo Ángel Silva opened his eyes for the first time on June 8, 1898, in a small and beautiful South American country named Ecuador. Our protagonist came into this world from the hand of a family that faced harsh conditions, being very poor. His father passed away when Medardo was 4 years old, and later he was forced to abandon his secondary studies to earn bread for his family. However, his circumstances never managed to keep him away from his passion, poetry. Inspired by French poets such as Verlaine and Baudelaire, he devoted himself to writing from a very young age, being the author of several works as a teenager. His undeniable talent earned him national and international recognition, allowing him to become a school teacher and later a journalist for Ecuador's most important newspaper at the time. Unfortunately, the passionate flame that burned in Medardo's heart was exclusively for poetry, leaving the love for life aside. The poet always showed heaviness towards existence, expressing this attitude in his somber poems while he impatiently awaited the day of his death, a figure to whom he dedicated several poems. And although not as much is known about Medardo as one would like, those who live in the country that protects the eternal dream of our protagonist know of the woman for whom Medardo finally decided to depart. The name of Medardo's muse was Rosa Amada Villegas, barely a teenager when the poet set his eyes on her to remain forever enamored. "He said he loved me," said the girl in an interview after the demise of her admirer. I was probably between 14 and 15 years old, very young, with little experience, easily suggestible. We were in love for a short time. If I had really loved him, I will never have been happy with him. He injected himself. I was able to intuit with the help of my parents what it was about. I decided to end that relationship. He insisted many times on resuming it. Disconsolate after Rosa Amada's rejection, Medardo dedicated to her what will become one of his most famous poems, El Alma en los Labios, or The Soul on the Lips, a work that was written in red ink, sent to his beloved, and that will announce the tragic course of the poet in love. At 8:30 in the evening of June 10th, 1919, Medardo, consumed by unrequited love, dressed in a black suit, took a Smith & Wesson caliber .32 revolver that he had borrowed, kissed his mother, and said goodbye to her. He walked to Rosa Amada's residence, insisting on speaking to her alone. Seated in the small living room with a young woman who sat far away from Medardo, he asked her to come closer to him. Upon doing so, it is said that the poet took out a weapon and left his beating heart in the hands of his beloved. Medardo left this world 2 days after turning 21. His passing plunged into mystery, as many were convinced that Medardo fell victim to someone else's actions due to the trajectory of the bullet. The poet, buried, was immortalized by his many works, and especially by the last verses he dedicated to Rosa Amada Villegas, which were made into a popular song and go like this. When of our love the flame of passion you contemplate extinguished in your loving breast, because only for you alone I hold my life dear. The day I lose you, I will rip off my own life. Because my thoughts, full of disaffection, that in a happy hour made me a slave of yours, away from your pupils, or sat like a child who sleeps dreaming of your lullaby accent. To envelop you in kisses, I'll like to be the wind, and I'll like to be everything your hand touches. To be your smile, even be your very breath, just to be closer to your mouth. I live off your words and eternally wait to call you mine as one who waits for a treasure. Away from you, I comprehend how much I love you, and kissing your letters, I naively cry for you. Forgive me if I have no words with which to tell you the ineffable passion that devours me, to express my love. All which remains is to tear open my chest, beloved, and in your silken hands lay my beating heart that adores you. Medardo Ángel Silva belongs to the decapitated generation of Ecuadorian poets. The name comes from the fact that all of them passed away very young, generally due to their own actions. In the description box, you'll find a link to the song made out of this poem and to the original poem in Spanish. What I showed you here was a rough translation of a poignant work of art whose magnificence cannot be captured. Thank you so much for watching.